Hi, thank you for joining me today as we explore word clouds. This learning opportunity is hosted by the Washoe County School District 21st Century Learning Division. My name is Sarah Stewart, and I am the Instructional Technology Specialist for the Striving Readers Grant. I will be your presenter today. Before we dive deeper into what word clouds are, or tag clouds as they're often called, it's important that we pause for a moment to define it and understand exactly what they are. So I want you to go ahead and read this Wikipedia definition. As you're reading this, you may recognize that, yeah, maybe I do know what tag or word clouds are and I've encountered them. As you can see, it's a very visual way to represent text data. And in a word cloud, the size of the word is correlated directly to its prominence. So let me give you a few examples to help you understand. Here you can see a word cloud, and it was created by simply copying and pasting the language from the Common Core standards into a word cloud creator, and in this example they used Tagxedo. Remember again that in a word cloud or a tag cloud, the prominence of the words is represented by how large the word appears. So in this example, you can see that the dominant words are writing, text, specific, grade, evidence, among others. So this means that, again, those words appear more often in the Common Core State Standards document. So you can see how this allows you to analyze based on the information that you see in the tag cloud. I can analyze some of the themes and some of the more important points that are stressed in the Common Core document just by analyzing this word cloud. Now I'd like you to look at this word cloud. This one's in the shape of an image. So I hope that you're noticing the diversity in word clouds. And I'd like you to analyze what you think this represents. Let's talk a minute about how word clouds support our standards, the Nevada Academic Content Standards and the Common Core Standards. Here's an anchor standard for speaking and listening. So you can see how word clouds might be a nice fit for this standard. It is a diverse format. It does allow students to integrate and evaluate the information. Here's another standard. So students could incorporate word clouds into their visual displays to help them communicate a little bit more visually. So your next question might be, okay, these are neat, but how does this fit into classroom application? So we're going to talk about a couple different ideas, and then I'm going to give you guys some time to explore as well. Here's a few ideas that were shared from brighthub-education.com. And as you can see, most of these activities involve analyzing, which we know helps encourage critical thinking. In addition, word clouds can serve as a great extension activity. So let's look at the example of personal narratives. Let's say that your students have created and written a personal narrative. They could actually take that writing and paste it into a word cloud creator, and then they could share it with others, and they would be able to very quickly and easily see what's important to their peers just by looking at their word clouds. I like the word wall example, so your students could brainstorm synonyms, antonyms, or definitions for their vocabulary words, and you could add your word clouds to your existing word wall, help stimulate some higher level thinking. Students could use it to analyze their own writing. I like the idea of having students at the end of a writing assignment to paste what they've created into a word cloud and see if they've overused some words or if they could find some word alternatives. And it's a great way to collect feedback as well. So if you could take all the feedback that you've obtained from a poll or a formative assessment, paste it in, and it gives you a quick snapshot of your feedback. As you can see, there's lots of different ways, and we're going to dig into some of these examples. So to begin, I'd like to show you an example of how a teacher, a science teacher to be exact, uses word clouds as a pre-reading strategy. So I'm going to give you a moment to watch this and then you'll be able to share your thoughts. So now that you've seen this example and you can see that this is something that could be easily adapted for any grade level or content area, I'd like you to ask yourself, how could you use word clouds as a reading strategy? And what did you particularly think was effective? Okay, now I'd like to view a second example, this one focusing more on assessment. And this one's called Text What You Learned. It utilizes not only students texting feedback, but then the teacher analyzing it using word clouds. So I'm going to give you a moment to watch this video. And now I'd like you to share out your thoughts. And how do you think you can incorporate word clouds as a formative assessment tool? Maybe you could duplicate the idea that you had seen demonstrated in the video, or maybe you have an additional idea. Go ahead and think about that and share that out. Okay, so now we're going to give you some time for some exploration. I have bookmarked some ideas, and I'd like you to explore them and then be prepared to share out your 3 favorite ideas, or maybe an idea that you saw something in one of these that inspired you to think of a new idea, but come prepared with 3 ideas for implementation. Okay, so from your exploration, go ahead and share out what you found or any new ideas that you have. So one of the most effective ways that you can use word clouds is as a compare and contrast tool, and I'm sure you noticed a lot of that in your self-exploration. As you know, comparing and contrasting has been identified as one of Robert Marzano's high-yield instructional strategies. I have that up on the screen. So it's a very important strategy that works well with word clouds, and I'd like to share an example of what this might look like. We're going to try it ourselves. So in this example, you can see that transcripts of speakers from the Democratic, and in a moment we'll see the Republican, national conventions were analyzed. So all the speakers that participated in both conventions, the transcripts of those speeches were pasted into a word cloud creator. And what we see here is the results of the Democratic. Okay, so here we see the results of the Republican. Now, to really effectively be able to compare and contrast, we need to see them side by side. So I've copied and pasted them side by side. And I'd like you to go ahead and compare and contrast. And Share out what themes do they have in common? Based on this information, what do you think the ideals of each political party are? And what differences might you be able to identify based on this information? Go ahead and share that out. Here's another example that compares inaugural speeches from President Obama and George W. Bush. Again, you can ask yourself, what do you see from analyzing them? What similarities and what differences? So you can compare and contrast a wide variety of different content using word clouds. Speeches is really one of the easier ways to do it, especially if you have a transcript of the speech. And it gives students nice visual practice with comparing and contrasting. Here's another example. Maybe you encourage your students to copy and paste their own writing to analyze whether or not they're overusing certain words and if they could think of some better choices. A great visual way for them to kind of quantify their writing. What we're going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate a couple of the sample tools, and then I'm going to give you some exploration time as well. Okay, so the first tool that I'd like to demonstrate is an HTML5 word cloud creator. And I'm just going to kind of demonstrate the examples that they have. I think this is an amazing tool for looking at current events and also taking into perspective global perspectives and comparing those to maybe a United States perspective on different topics or current events. So right now it is looking at the New York Times feed, the global edition, and let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to click Start. So it's kind of pulling in all of the news from the New York Times from all their global sources and analyzing it into this word cloud. So you can take a look and see what themes are coming up more than others. China, ISIS, Ebola, Islamic, attack, protest. And it's a great way to have a conversation with students. Let's go ahead and look at the US feed and see if we can compare the two. All right, so it's still populating and it looks like it's pretty similar. Syria appears a little bit more prominently in this one. And again, to really properly analyze, you'd want to put them side to side so students could really dig in. But it's a great way to compare and contrast global perspectives on current events. I can change the shape, and I can change themes as well. I can shrink and I can edit the list. So it kind of gives you a count. So very interesting tool. Okay, let's go. So I'm starting with some examples that you might not have associated with word clouds. And word clouds are often found in conjunction with different search tools. So here's a website called Quintura Kids. It's a search engine made specifically for younger children. And let's say I type in the word virus. Okay, nothing. Let's try health. Okay, so you'll notice that when I do a search here, it gives me a word cloud up above. That helps me modify and refine my search. So as I'm clicking on these, it's adding them into my search indicator and helping me refine my speech or my search. So you can, in fact, find word clouds in other ways than we have explored thus far. So they are often found with search tools, or you might see tag clouds on blog sites or wikis that when you click on certain topics that appear in the word cloud, it serves as like a filter. All right, so one of the original, and it's still one of the best in my opinion, is Wordle.net. And I'm just going to take a moment to demonstrate to you how simple it is to create your own Wordle. So what I've done behind the scenes is I have went out and found the text to Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and I have copied that, and I'm going to paste it into my Wordle. And notice I could also put in a URL of any blog or blog feed or any other web page that does have an RSS feed. So if it's a news source RSS feed, that's a great way also to analyze current events. I'm going to click go. And it does have to activate a Java applet. So you'll notice I had to actually switch to Firefox because it wouldn't work in Chrome. And now you can see, just in a quick glimpse, students can analyze that famous speech. I can change language. I can change the font. I can change the layout. So I could say straighter edges, mostly horizontal, vertical. I like mostly horizontal better. And I can change the color themes as well. So after students have created this, especially if they are going to incorporate it into a presentation or their own communication, it's important that they know how to take screenshots. So the screenshot tool that I like to use is Jing Project, JING project.com. But there are other simple keyboard shortcuts as well. So if you just Google how to take a screenshot, you'll be able to find that. There's also snippet tools on all of your computers. So here, let's say I was a student. Well, that's not a good screenshot because I've got all that excess stuff. I really just want my beautiful Wordle. So now students are able to take a screenshot and copy and paste that into whatever their communication platform is. And you as a teacher can use screenshots as well in order to get them in that side-by-side format to encourage more analysis. Okay, so we just looked at Wordle, and you will have time to try out several other additional word cloud tools that work very similarly to Wordle. I'd like to take a moment to share with you another tool that utilizes word clouds, and that is Vocab Grabber. Let's try one of these samples that they are boasting on their website. Let's try this science text, what is a genome? And again, you could paste your own text in there as well. So I've pasted in some science text about a genome, and now I'm going to grab the vocabulary using the vocab grabber. And here you can see the information. This word cloud is really critical. It shows me the words that show up more prominently in the text. So it's a great way for your learners to look at this word cloud and they can identify some of the words or vocabulary that they don't recognize. Okay, so let me click on protein and see what happens here. So I've clicked on protein, and over here it shows me some of the words that are linked to protein, macromolecule and supramolecule. It gives me my definition, and then it gives me examples from the text. I like this because it shows you the words within context, which is one of the best ways to show and create understanding and meaning. When you look at the word outside of context, it's more difficult for students. I can also use some of these filter tools at the top if I want to say, let's just do the science and math. This one's going to be very heavy on science and math, obviously. Let's try arts and literature. So a great way for you to help identify some of the academic vocabulary that can span through different subject areas. So you can see that word clouds are used in a myriad of different ways. If I click on the educator page, it gives me even more information. It gives you some featured lesson plans. You can search for lesson plans and more information about the tool. That's something that you can explore if you would like to. Another tool is WordSift, and this is produced by Stanford University ELL resources. Let's go ahead and use one of their examples. Let's look at the I have a dream speech again. So again, you can paste in anything here, but we'll go ahead and use their example. I'm going to click Sift. And I wonder if it doesn't like my browser. So I'm going to, oh, it's actually, here it goes. Okay, so here you can see it has created a word cloud. So let's go ahead and click on freedom. It's taking a moment, but it's going to pull up some images. It's going to create a web of terms that are related to freedom. As I mouse over that, I can see the definition. And then it does the kind of the same thing as vocab grabber. It shows you examples from the source. And when you click on it, it actually takes you to that position in the text. Again, very important to see these within their own context. You can filter by different areas. This one's running a little bit slower. But when I click on science, you can see that it has highlighted some of the terms that might be relevant in science. And I have some different ways of sorting it as well. Okay, so I'm going to let you watch their video tour that might give you a little bit more in-depth information that what I've shared, and share your thoughts on this tool. Okay, so now you've seen some demonstrations and some information on some various tools. There are a few others that I'd like you to explore yourself and just do some comparison and contrast to see what tools will fit your needs. As always, you can visit the Pinterest board that accompanies all of our presentations, and there will be some more ideas and resources there for you to take advantage of. Take a moment to read our disclaimer. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your time. I hope that you have learned more about word clouds and that you have some ideas spinning around in your head about how it can help support your students in their critical thinking and their communication. If you'd like to learn more about 21st century learning, I suggest that you visit the Washoe County School District 21st Century Learning Division website at wcsd21.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and visit our Pinterest boards. Thank you for your time.